What's going on, guys? Welcome back into the channel. Today I want to do a video essentially branching off of my previous video, which was the top 3 things you need to do to get ready for Madden 21. And today I want to talk about the top 3 things that you need to do and you need to prepare to do to get ready for Madden 21 franchise mode. And this is just going to be 3 tips to help you guys get ahead of the curve whenever you are starting up a franchise mode here in Madden 21, whenever it comes out in a few days. And if you want to be prepared to build the best team, to set yourself up for success, set yourself up for wins, you need to be able to do a couple of these things early on in your franchise, and they're going to set you up for success in your franchise. Now, the first thing, and I know that this isn't any type of sexy thing to do, but it's something that you need to be prepared to do and you need to get used to doing, and that is whenever you go into your franchises, get familiar with the settings. We know that there's not going to be a whole lot different between Madden 20 and Madden 21, especially to start with franchise mode, and you're going to want to get used to switching some of these settings over that are actually pretty crucial for your control of your team in Madden 20, and it will be the same in Madden 21. So some of these things are very important, like this entire user team help section, this team settings section, and if they add any new settings for Madden 21, you're going to want to familiarize yourself with them very quickly and have them set to the way that it's going to help you out the most. And one of the ways that you can help yourself out the most, and this is one of the things that I recommend the most, is by putting weekly training on manual, and honestly putting all of these things on manual. But one of the most important things to put on manual is weekly training and player development and those types of things. That is my #1 tip. And in addition to that, taking tutorial pop-ups off, taking auto-progress players off, that kind of is the player progression thing, and the fill roster thing off, because you don't want the CPU making bad decisions for your team. You need to be in full control, and like I said, the most important thing here is the auto-progress players. You want to make sure that you are the one selecting where your XP is going for those players, because that's going to allow you to develop your players into exactly what you want them to be and mold your franchise, mold your team into what you need it to be. So make sure that you have your settings right, and that will establish the best foundation for your franchise that you possibly can. You can go in and select your team settings, which are all of these user team help and team settings. You can do this every single year in Madden. So make sure that you familiarize yourself with the settings section if you have not already, and make sure that you are prepared to utilize it in the best way possible. Now, the other thing to branch off of the settings kind of idea is to make sure that you familiarize yourself with your league settings, because this year they added in a couple of settings, and that would be minimum roster size, in-season player movement limit, player overall cut restrictions, off-season player cut limit. And essentially what these are going to do is they're going to restrict how many players you can and cannot have on your team. It's going to restrict how many moves you can make in a single week, like cutting and trading and all these different things. And you need to know what your franchise's settings are. If you're not the commissioner, if you're joining somebody else's league, you need to know what they have all of these things set at. That way you can prepare accordingly. Let's say that they have injuries on during preseason, for example. You're going to want to try to limit the playing time of your starting players so that they don't get hurt in preseason. You're going to be putting yourself at a disadvantage if you're not familiar with your league's rules. You're going to put yourself at a disadvantage if you're not doing your own progression for your players, because everybody else is going to be putting their points into their players exactly how they want. They're going to be keeping their players healthy and keep them off the field in preseason if injuries are on, and they're not going to be using up their roster movement spots on players that they might not need. So that is tip #1, and that one is extremely important for setting the right foundation for your franchises in Madden 21, and that's something you can familiarize yourself with right now on Madden 20. That's one of the big things about this video, is that all 3 of these things are the things that you can familiarize yourself with right now, because like I said, Madden 21 is going to be very similar to Madden 20. With that being said, let's go ahead and jump into the league. We're going to go ahead and start it up on preseason week 1, and we're going to discuss my second point, which is crucial for you guys, and that is exploring free agency, helping your team out, and knowing when to explore free agency. So the first thing is, #1, when you get into a franchise, whether you're starting in preseason week 1, a different week, maybe week 1 of the regular season, you need to hit free agency as the first thing you do when you get into that franchise, and you need to go out here and sign find anybody that's out there that you think will help your team. Anybody that you can fit in under your salary cap, bring them in. You can go over the roster limit even if you're in week 1 of the regular season. As you guys can see, I'm up to 69 players here. Find anybody that can help your team, whether they be a high overall to position of need for you, whether they be an athletic player that's young that could help you in the future, whatever it might be, go out and sign those players. And the second aspect of this is knowing when to go out and hit the free agent market. Obviously, in preseason week 1 of every season, you need to be scouting the free agent market, because in the base start of a season in preseason week 1, you're going to have all these free agents out there that could potentially help your team. But in future years, you need to know that undrafted free agents will be sitting there, and unsigned free agents from the offseason will be sitting there that could help your team. This is going to happen to you every single year, so get prepared to do this and go through and find the players that are going to help you out the most. Make sure that you know how to utilize this tool by going through position by position. Let's say I need a young wide receiver. I can scroll through here and sort by age and automatically go and find the 21-year-old wide receivers that could help me out. Or maybe I want to find a fast receiver. I can go through and find maybe a young 22-year-old with 93 speed and sign him to my team. Likewise, learn how to utilize that tool for every single position. Sign as many players as you want, and then cut down from there. That's what I do every single season when I start a franchise. I go out there, I sign as many players as I can to my team, and then once I'm up to like that 75 limit, I go through my team and I make cuts from there, determining who's more valuable to my team, maybe who could go on my practice squad, and so on and so forth. Now, you're not just going to want to do this in the first week of your season. Let's say you're starting in preseason week 1. You're also going to want to check in preseason week 4 and week 1 of the regular season. The reason that you want to check in preseason week 4 is because that is the week that the roster cuts hit, and it tells you that you have to cut, and so other users will be cutting players, as well as the AI teams will be cutting players in preseason week 4. Therefore, you'll be able to go out to the free agent market and find players that are going to help your team. Likewise, once you hit regular season week 1, you're going to find a lot of players cut from preseason week 4, a lot of players out there on the free agent market that weren't there during week 1 through 4 of preseason. So you need to make sure that you're going out and hitting the free agent market in preseason week 1, preseason week 4, and regular season week 1. Now, you can go out beyond that and you can go and find other free agents, but I find that the easier way, once you've already scoured the free agent market, is just to monitor the transactions page and take a look and see which teams have cut players. You can go to re-sign, traded, released. If you just scroll by released players, you can see each week which players are released, and you can go out and find those players in the free agent pool and sign them to your team. That's a real quick, easy way, once you're past regular season week 1, to determine if there's anybody out there that can help your team. So make sure you guys are going out there and hitting the free agent market hard, because you guys can help your team out tremendously by finding young talent, old talent, high overall talent, low overall talent, athletic players that are going to help your team basically establish a successful franchise. Now, the third and final tip for you guys that you probably don't want to do, you probably want nothing to do with it, but you have to do it if you're playing franchise mode, you have to get in control of this early, is going and managing your salaries and going and finding out what players are making too much money, who you're going to need to get rid of in a short term, who you're going to need to move on from, who you might want to trade away for that season, and start to manage these things as early as possible. Let's say that I have a player that's making a lot of money. I'm going to sort by my salaries here in 2019. I find a 79 overall Derek Wolfe making $10, maybe $11 million. You're going to want to manage this as quickly as possible. If you have somebody that can replace him, then you might want to get rid of him and save that money. Now, he's only on a 1-year deal, so it will expire at the end of the season, so there's not much advantage to me cutting this player. But let's say Derek Wolfe was on a 3-year contract, and he's only going to continue to go down in terms of overall. You would want to get rid of a player like that, because they're not going to help you in the future, and they're just going to continue to hurt your salary space, your cap space. And so in order to help yourself in the future, you're going to want to consider getting rid of players like that to help your cap space as you move forward. Yes, you'll take a hit now, but you'll save yourself a lot of trouble in the long run, and you'll give yourself more money to work with in the future. We can look at a guy like James here, Jawan James. He's making $14 million per year. That might be a little bit bit too much for a 27-year-old that's not going to get any better, that's only a 77 overall. Yes, he was just signed to a contract, but from a franchise perspective, if you're trying to give yourself money to work with in the offseason, if you think there's going to be free agents that you want to sign, or you're going to have other big-name players that you need to re-sign, get rid of a guy like this and save that $14 million in the following years and help yourself out. It's going to help you out tremendously if you get on top of your salary situation from the get-go. And if you're not paying attention to your salary situation, you're going to be way far behind, because you could just end up with players like Joe Flacco that are, counting against, $23 million against your cap space, and they're going to really hurt your contract negotiation situation. They're going to hurt you in the offseason when other teams are getting better and other teams are retaining their players. You're going to have to let players go because you don't have enough salary cap, because you're not properly managing it, or you're not going to be able to negotiate with free agents. Somebody else is going to be able to go out there and outbid you on the guys that you want because of the fact that you didn't get on top of your salary situation early on. So that is tip number 3, and it is extremely important. Make sure that you guys get on top of your salary situation as soon as you start a franchise. Like I said, you basically want to do them in that order. You want to manage your settings. You want to get aware of what the settings are. You want to go out there and hit the free agency pool hard, and you want to help your team out in any way that you can. Keep in mind, no matter what week of the season you're in, you can go above the roster limit as long as you then cut down to 53 players in the regular season. And then the third and final point here, one of the most important points, probably one of the most neglected points, is make sure that you're going out there and managing your salaries from the very beginning. If you're not doing that, you're putting yourself at a major disadvantage to the other players out there that are going to be managing their salaries, and they're going to get advantages as the franchise continues to progress because they managed their salary earlier on than you did, and so they have the money to work with that you don't. So make sure you guys do these 3 things whenever you're getting ready for Madden 21 franchise mode, whenever you start up a Madden 21 franchise mode. Like I said, you can do them now, and you can start to get used to doing them right now on Madden 20, and you'll be able to be ahead of the curve in Madden 21, and you'll be able to be at the highest advantage you possibly can in a franchise mode by doing these things early on in your franchise mode and knowing what to do because you practiced it on Madden 20. So hopefully this helps you guys out in some way. Hopefully it has some value to you guys. Hopefully you guys are successful in your franchises in Madden 21. Make sure you guys leave a like on this video and subscribe to the channel if you're new. Comment down below with anything you guys would like to see next, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Like I said, I really hope this helps you guys out in some way, and I hope you guys have a good night.